All right, so get this. We're about to dive into something that might actually ruin the holiday for some people.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one for fans of the movie.
So, anyone out there who's ever dreamed of, like, booking a stay at Rosehill Cottage, that adorable little cottage from the movie?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well, it turns out it's not real.
It never existed.
I know.
Shocking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was floored when I heard.
Yeah, it was Jude Law himself who kind of spilled the beans in an interview recently.
I know, I saw that and I was like, wait, what?
I know. I think a lot of people who love this movie are just finding this out now, and it's a lot to process.
Yeah, it's like this iconic setting, this like perfect English countryside cottage.
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to find it on like Airbnb and stuff.
Right, and it just never turned up.
But it was just so central to the whole, the whole feel of the movie.
Absolutely. Like, for those who haven't seen it, The Holiday is this super sweet rom-com from 2006.
Yeah, with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They basically swap homes for the holidays. One ends up in LA and the other in the snowy English countryside.
Yeah, and that's where Rosehill Cottage, comes into play. It's not just a background, it's like a character.
Right. It represents this, like, escape, this peaceful, simpler life that so many people crave.
Yeah. And to find out it was never real, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, I get that. It kind of bursts the bubble a little.
It does, but it also makes you appreciate the movie in a different way, right?
Oh, totally. It's like a testament to the filmmakers, like how they were able to create this incredibly convincing world.
Yeah, like how much detail and effort went into making it feel so real.
Exactly. It all starts with director Nancy Meyers. She's known for her, like, very specific aesthetic.
Right, she has that signature style.
Yeah, and apparently she just couldn't find a real cottage that fit her vision for Rosehill,
She wanted that idyllic chocolate box look.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
she just had them build one.
Wait, they built the entire cottage?
Well, for the exterior shots, yes.
Yes.
They constructed this whole facade in a field. It wasn't even a functional house, just like a shell made to look perfect on camera.
So all those cozy interior scenes with the fireplace and, the kitchen and all that?
Those were shot somewhere else entirely.
No way.
Yeah, months later on a soundstage in Los Angeles.
So they basically built two different versions of the cottage?
Basically, one for the outside and one for the inside.
I had no idea. It's amazing how they made it feel so seamless on screen.
Yeah, the editing and the production design must have been incredible.
It really highlights the skill of everyone involved. Like they literally created a world that doesn't exist.
Right, and it's not just about the physical space, it's about creating a feeling,
Yeah, that sense of longing for escape, for cozy retreat, especially during the holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that the cottage itself isn't real,
Mhm.
well, it kind of adds to that longing in a way.
So the magic is more about tapping into something that's already there in the viewer.
Right, this desire for something more, something peaceful and idyllic.
Well, wait, if they built this whole exterior in a field, wouldn't that have been insanely expensive?
That's a good question, and I think it speaks to why Myers chose this route.
Because she's known for filming on location, right?
Yeah, but she's also super meticulous about her vision and finding a real cottage that met her exact specifications.
That probably would have been impossible.
They're at least way more expensive to renovate.
So building the facade actually gave her more control.
Exactly. And it probably saved them money in the long run.
Interesting. So it was a creative decision and a practical one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so that makes sense. But wouldn't filming the interior on a separate soundstage create a disconnect?
Well, that's where the skill of the production design team really comes in.
Right, they had to make it all cohesive.
Yeah, they had to match the lighting, the colors, the overall style to make
Yeah.
sure it felt like the same space.
And it worked.
It did.
Yeah.
They were able to bridge that physical gap and create a believable environment.
That's pretty incredible when you think about
It
it.
really is. It's like a testament to the artistry of filmmaking.
Right. And remember, this was back in 2006 before CGI was as advanced as it is now.
Right, so they had to rely more on practical effects and clever set design.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate the craftsmanship even more.
It really does. And it also makes you think about how easily we get swept up in the illusion.
Yeah, we believe what we see on screen, even if it's all smoke and mirrors.
And in this case, it's not just about creating a believable setting. It's about evoking specific emotions.
Like that longing for a peaceful retreat.
Exactly. And the irony is that that retreat, that place of peace, doesn't even exist.
It's a fabrication that represents something very real.
Yeah, it's this interesting paradox of creating something artificial that resonates with a very authentic human experience.
Exactly. And I think that leads us to another layer of the story.
Mm.
What's that?
Okay, so here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
So Rosehill Cottage, the one in the movie,
Mhm.
it might have been inspired by a real cottage.
Really?
Yeah, there's this place called Honeysuckle Cottage in Surrey Hills.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah, and it looks a lot like Rosehill.
Huh. So maybe it wasn't completely made up?
Well, not exactly. It's not an identical twin or anything,
Okay.
but there are definitely similarities.
Like what?
Well, for one, the overall structure is kind of the same.
Okay.
That classic English countryside look with the exposed beams and the cozy nooks.
Yeah.
And the gardens, too. They both have those, like, rambling kind of
Oh,
gardens.
okay. But it's not an exact replica, right?
No, Honeysuckle has a thatched roof.
And Rosehill has the tiled roof, right?
Exactly. So there are some key differences.
But still, it makes you wonder if Nancy Meyers, ever saw Honeysuckle.
Right, like was it a subconscious inspiration or something?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Unfortunately, there's no confirmation either way.
Too bad. But hey, even if Rosehill isn't a real rental, I think the whole home swap thing,
Oh, yeah.
that really resonated with people.
Absolutely. It's like
Mm.
this fantasy of escaping your life for a while.
Yeah, and experiencing something totally different.
And the holiday really taps into that desire.
Yeah, like both characters, Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet.
Right. They're both at these turning points in their lives.
Yeah, and they're looking for something more.
And they find it in each other's homes.
Right. It's not about finding some exotic location.
It's about finding yourself.
Yeah, and embracing the simple things.
Exactly. And the setting is so important to that journey.
Whether it's LA or the English countryside.
Right. The environment becomes a catalyst for change.
Which is kind of ironic considering that one of those environments,
Yeah.
Rosehill Cottage, doesn't actually exist.
That's true.
Hmm.
But it represents something very real.
Yeah, that yearning for escape, for a peaceful retreat. It's like a modern-day fairy tale,
Yeah, I like that.
where the cottage represents a sanctuary, a place of transformation.
And even though we know it's not real,
It still evokes those feelings.
that's the power of film, right?
Yeah, it allows us to suspend disbelief
To buy into these fictional worlds.
and to connect with them on an emotional level.
Exactly.
But does it feel like a betrayal a little bit?
What do you mean?
Like knowing that something so beloved
Yeah.
is actually a fabrication.
I could see that. I mean,
Mhm.
part of the charm of the holiday
Yeah.
was that you could imagine yourself visiting Rosehill.
Right, experiencing that escape.
But think about it this way.
Okay.
It makes the achievement of the filmmakers even more impressive
How so?
because they created something so convincing
Yeah,
that it sparked genuine desires in viewers.
I guess so.
It's like when a magician reveals their secrets.
Oh, yeah.
You're initially disappointed, but then
Yeah.
you're like, wow.
Right. You're in awe of their skill.
Exactly. And in the case of the holiday,
Yeah.
the illusion is so well crafted that it still resonates with people
Yeah.
even after the reveal.
So Rosehill Cottage, this fictional place,
Yeah,
it's become this iconic symbol of holiday escapism.
exactly. Even though it doesn't exist.
It makes you wonder about other movies.
Oh, yeah.
Other locations that we've fallen in love with on screen.
Right. Are they real or are they just illusions?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually now.
With all the technology,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell what's real anymore.
So next time we're watching a movie,
Mm-hmm.
we should really appreciate the artistry behind those sets.
Yeah, those breathtaking landscapes and charming interiors.
It might just be movie magic.
And remember, even if a place doesn't exist on a map,
Yeah.
if it captures our imaginations,
Mm-hmm.
then it's achieved a kind of reality all its own.
That's a really good point. It makes this whole Rosehill Cottage thing
Yeah.
less about disappointment and more about celebrating creativity.
Exactly. The power of storytelling.
Yeah. The ability to transport us to other worlds.
Even if those worlds are just illusions.
Yeah. It really changes how you see the movie.
It does. It's like you're seeing the artistry behind the illusion.
Yeah. And appreciating it even more.
Exactly.
Mm.
Like the real magic of movies isn't just about special effects.
Right. It's about storytelling.
Yeah. Creating
Okay.
something believable and moving, even if it's based on, a fabrication.
So when we watch The Holiday and we see Iris, finding solace in Rosehill Cottage,
Yeah.
it's not just about the physical space.
It's about the emotions it represents.
Right. The need to escape that longing for peace.
Yeah. That hope for a fresh start.
And those feelings are universal.
Exactly. Whether the cottage exists or not.
So it becomes a symbol.
Yeah, like a shorthand for a human experience.
And that makes it even more powerful.
It's not tied to one place.
Right. It exists in our imaginations.
Exactly. Shared by anyone who's ever felt that way.
It's like a collective dream.
Yeah, a shared understanding.
And that's what makes storytelling so great.
Right. That connection between the filmmaker and the audience.
So even though we might feel a little sad,
Yeah.
knowing we can't actually visit Rosehill Cottage,
We can still appreciate the feeling it gives us.
that longing it represents.
And you never know.
But,
Maybe there's a real cottage out there.
oh, you mean like a hidden gem?
Yeah, tucked away somewhere in the English countryside.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would. It'd be like stepping into the movie.
And even if we never find it,
Yeah?
the search is part of the fun.
Exactly. It reminds us to keep looking for those magical places.
Yeah, the ones that make you feel like anything is possible.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree. So, the story of Rosehill Cottage,
Mm.
even though it's fictional,
It reminds us about the power of stories.
yeah, the ability to transport us, to make us believe.
And to remind us that there's always magic out there.
Beautifully said. And as viewers, let's keep celebrating the creativity that brings those stories to life.
Because the best illusions are the ones that reveal something true about ourselves.